Hello, now we're going to go over the critical reading portion of the ACT test and go over a prose fiction piece and analyze the characters and their motivations and how they feel about each other and the situation. So, Chris, if you could read paragraph 1. Rosemary sat at her kitchen table, working at a crossword puzzle. Crosswords were nice. They filled the time and they kept the mind active. She needed just one word to complete this morning's puzzle. The clue was a Swiss river, and the first of its 3 letters was A. Unfortunately, Rosemary had no idea what the name of the river was and could not look it up. Her atlas was at her desk, and the desk was in the guest room, currently being occupied by her grandson, Victor. Looking up and over the tops of her bifocals, Rosemary glanced at the kitchen clock. It was almost 10 a.m. Land sakes, did that boy intend to sleep all day? She noticed the arthritis in her wrist was throbbing, and she put down her pen. At 87 years of age, she was glad that she could write at all. She had decided long ago that growing old was like slowly turning to stone. You could not take anything for granted. She stood up, slowly, painfully, and started walking to the guest room. So thank you, Chris, for reading that. So what characters are introduced? What characters introduced in this paragraph? Chris? Rosemary, exactly. Rosemary. And what do we know about Rosemary, Craig? That she likes crosswords. Yes, she's doing crosswords. She's optimistic about aging. Yes. And she has a grandson, doesn't she? Victor. Exactly. And so what will we put as notes on the side of this paragraph here? We put Rosemary old, grandson staying with her. Those are notes about this paragraph, what this paragraph is, the first notes for our passage map for this paragraph. So Nathaniel, read paragraph number 2. The trip, only a distance of about 25 feet, seemed to take a long while. In her 9th decade now, Rosemary had experienced an expanded sense of time, with the present and past tense intermingling in her mind. One minute she was padding in slippers across the living room carpet. The next she was back on the farm where she'd grown up, a sturdy little girl, treading the path behind the barn just before dawn. In her mind's eye, she could still pick her way among the stones in the darkness, more than 70 years later. Thanks for reading that, Nathaniel. Now, paragraph 2, what do we learn about Rosemary in this paragraph? Yeah, she often intermingles the past and the present. Exactly. And she often thinks about the past. Exactly. She can still today pick her way through the stones of the old farm. So what would we put? What would we write for our passage map for this paragraph? Thinks about the past. Okay, thinks about the past. Exactly. She's often thinking about the past. Now, Joe, if you could read paragraph 3. Rosemary arrived at the door to the guest room. It stood slightly ajar, and she peered through the opening. Victor lay sleeping on his side, his arms bent, his experience slightly pained. Get up, lazy bones, she'd like to say. Even in childhood, Rosemary had never slept past 4 a.m. There were too many chores to do. How different things were for Victor's generation. Her youngest grandson behaved as if he had never done a chore in his life. 21 years old, he had driven down to Florida to visit Rosemary in his shiny new car, a gift from his doting parents. Victor would finish college soon, and his future appeared bright. If he ever got out of bed, of course. So, paragraph 3. Thanks for reading that, Joe. So in paragraph 3, what do we learn about Rosemary in this paragraph? What's discussed? Now, this is more about Victor, right? What do we know about Victor? He's a grandson, yes. He sleeps, late, yes. He's almost finished with college, yes. And so what does Rosemary think to herself about Victor here? Yeah, he's comparing the 2 childhoods, isn't he? That he appears to be lazy because he doesn't get up at 4 a.m. It's 10 o'clock and he hasn't got up yet, you know? So what we would write, probably in paragraph 3, what would we write? Grandson reflects on the differences between them. Yes, okay, thanks. And then Michael, read paragraph 4. Something Victor had said last night over dinner had disturbed her. Now, what was it? Oh, yes. We had been talking about one of his college courses, a gut, he had called it. When she had asked him to explain the term, Victor said it was a course that you took simply because it was easy to pass. Rosemary, who had not even had a high school education, found the term repellent. If she had been allowed to continue her studies, she would have never taken a gut. So in paragraph, thanks for reading that, Michael. Now, paragraph 4. What does the author tell us about Rosemary and Victor here? He's taking an easy class, yes. And Rosemary finds that repellent, right? Yeah. So what will we take here? Victor takes an easy class. V, we probably would abbreviate Victor as V. V takes an easy class and discuss Rosemary. Okay, and then paragraph number 5, Chris, if you could read that. The memory flooded back then, still as painful as an open wound all these years later. It was the first day of high school. She had graduated from grammar school the previous year, but her father had forbidden her to go to high school that fall, saying that she had needed to be on the farm. After much tearful pleading, she had gotten him to promise that next year she could start high school. She had endured a whole year of chores instead of books, with animals and rough farm hands for company instead of people her own age. Now, at last, the glorious day was at hand. She had put on her best dress, she owned 2, and her heart was racing in anticipation, but her father was waiting as she came down the stairs. So thanks for reading that, Craig. Chris, what do we find out here in paragraph number 5? She wanted to go to high school, but her father didn't let her. Yes, exactly. So what will we write as our passage note? Something concise. Forbidden to go to high school. Right, exactly. Something like that. Wanted to go to high school. So, okay, and then the next paragraph, Nathaniel. Where do you think you're going, he asked. To high school, Papa. No, you're not. You're going to take that thing off and get back to work. But, Papa, you promised. Do as I say, he thundered. There was no arguing with Papa when he spoke that way. Tearfully, she trudged back upstairs to change her clothes. Rosemary still wondered what life would have been like had her father not been waiting at the bottom of the stairs that day, or if she had somehow found the strength to defy him. So, Joe, what do we find out in that paragraph? Father kept her from going to high school and kept her working on the family farm. And, of course, what does Rosemary think about that, Chris? Yes, that greatly annoys her. And Michael, what might we write as a passage here, as a passage map here? Yeah, that she wanted to go to high school, but was forbidden to. Wanted to, but was forbidden to go to high school. So we'd write that, and then we'd know what that paragraph talks. So basically, all of you did a great job. Now it's time to turn to some practice applying these skills in the guided group work.